It was the kind of silence that makes your skin crawl. The massive arena, usually alive with cheering fans and pulsating energy, stood eerily empty. But tonight, something unusual was brewing. Taylor Swift, one of the most recognized voices in the world, found herself drawn into an unexpected mystery. The stage lights were dimmed, and the seats stretched endlessly into the shadows. Yet, amidst the stillness, a sound emerged. It wasn't the hum of machinery or the distant echo of crew chatter, it was a voice. Raw, unrefined, and utterly captivating. Taylor froze mid-step. Her heart quickened. The melody was hers, a song she'd written from a place of deep vulnerability. But this wasn't coming from a polished bandmate or a rehearsed recording. No, it was something else. She squinted into the shadows, the hauntingly familiar tune pulling her forward like an invisible thread. "Who's there?" she called out, her voice echoing faintly. Silence. For a moment, she thought she'd imagined it. But then, it came again. A man's voice, singing her lyrics with a sincerity that sent chills down her spine. Each word carried an emotion so raw, so unguarded, that it felt like a secret confession. Intrigued, and a little unnerved, she followed the sound up the dimly lit stairs to the upper levels. What she found stopped her cold. In the far corner of the arena, illuminated by a faint overhead light, stood a man in his mid-40s. His janitor's uniform was worn, the name tag reading, Mike. He was wiping down seats methodically, completely unaware of his audience. As he worked, his voice carried the melody like a gentle wave, rising and falling with heartfelt imperfection. Taylor watched, transfixed. There was something profoundly human in his performance. This wasn't for fame, applause, or recognition. This was pure expression, a man singing not because he wanted to, but because he needed to. Finally, unable to stay silent, she spoke. "That's my song." Mike froze. His mop clattered to the floor as he turned, eyes wide with shock. Are you Taylor Swift?" he stammered. She smiled, stepping closer. "Hi. I hope I'm not interrupting." He blinked, clearly struggling to process the moment. I didn't think anyone was here." "Neither did I," she replied, her tone warm. "But I couldn't ignore your voice. That's one of my songs, right?" Mike nodded, his face turning crimson. "Yeah. My daughter, she's a big fan. I guess I hear it so much that it's stuck in my head." "Hope that's okay." Taylor's smile softened. "It means a lot that my music connects with you and your family." For a moment, silence hung heavy between them. Then, as if a dam had burst, Mike began to share his story. "My daughter's name is Ella. She's 12. She loves singing and dancing, says she wants to be like you someday. But times are tough. I've been picking up extra shifts, trying to keep things together. She's been begging to come to one of your concerts, but..." He trailed off, his voice thick with emotion. Taylor's heart ached at his words. "You're doing so much already. Just by being there for her, you're giving her the world." Mike glanced down, a faint smile touching his lips. "I just wish I could do more." Taylor's mind raced. This wasn't just another fan. This was a moment. A story. And she wasn't going to let it end here. "Would you mind singing that again? Your voice, it's beautiful." Mike's face flushed with embarrassment. I don't know about that." "Please," she urged. Reluctantly, he began. His voice quivered at first but grew stronger with each line. Taylor listened, her chest tightening as his unpolished melody filled the space. It wasn't just a song anymore. It was a lifeline, a bridge between two worlds. When he finished, Taylor clapped softly. "You've got a gift, Mike. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." He chuckled, shaking his head. "I'm just a janitor trying to make ends meet." She leaned in, her eyes shining. "You're so much more than that. And I think Ella knows that too." As she walked away, an idea began to form in her mind, one that would change everything. Mike's heart was pounding as he stood there, mop in hand, staring at one of the most famous people in the world. Taylor Swift's presence was overwhelming, but her genuine smile and kind eyes kept him rooted in place, despite his nerves. He fumbled to set the mop aside, still processing the surreal moment. You really think I'm any good?" he asked, his voice hesitant. Taylor nodded. "Absolutely. Music isn't about perfection. It's about heart, and you've got that in spades." Mike rubbed the back of his neck, chuckling awkwardly. "I'm just a guy who cleans up after everyone. Not exactly the kind of story you'd write a song about." Taylor's expression grew serious. "Everyone has a story, Mike. Yours deserves to be heard too." For a moment, he was silent, the weight of her words settling over him. Then, as if he couldn't hold it in any longer, he started talking. "I've been working here for almost 8 years now. It's not glamorous, but it's honest work. My daughter Ella, she's my world. Every mop I push and every late night I pull is for her." Taylor leaned forward, her curiosity piqued. "What's she like?" A faint smile spread across Mike's face. "She's 12 going on 20. Full of dreams and sass. Always singing, always dancing. She says she wants to be just like you someday. Honestly, I think she's better than I ever was at her age." Taylor's eyes softened. "She sounds amazing. You must be so proud of her." "I am," Mike replied, but his smile faltered. "It's just, times are tough. We lost her mom a few years back, and since then, it's just been the two of us. I try to give her everything I can, but some things feel out of reach. Like this concert. She's been begging me to bring her, but there's just no way." The vulnerability in his voice tugged at Taylor's heart. She could see the weight he carried, the sacrifices he made. "I'm so sorry for your loss, Mike," she said gently. "Ella's lucky to have a dad who loves her so much." Mike shrugged, a mixture of pride and sadness in his eyes. "I just wish I could do more." An idea began to form in Taylor's mind, but she kept it to herself for now. Instead, she changed the subject, hoping to lighten the mood. "Do you sing often?" He laughed, shaking his head. "Not really. I mean, I used to mess around with a guitar back in the day, but life got busy. Now it's mostly just humming while I work. Helps pass the time." "You've got a gift, Mike," Taylor said earnestly. "I'm serious. You shouldn't keep it hidden." He waved her off, though his cheeks turned pink. "I'm too old for that now. My time's come and gone. It's never too late." She countered, her tone firm. "You've already inspired me tonight. You have no idea how much that means." Mike's eyebrows shot up. "I inspired you? How?" Taylor smiled mysteriously. "You'll see." Their conversation was interrupted by the faint sound of Taylor's manager calling for her from the stage below. She stood, smoothing out her dress. "I have to go, but it was so great meeting you, Mike. Thank you for sharing your story with me." He nodded, still a little dazed. "Thanks for listening. And thanks for being you. You've made my night." As Taylor walked away, her mind raced with possibilities. Mike's story, his voice, his love for Ella, it all resonated with her deeply. She knew she couldn't just leave it at that. By the time she reached her team, her plan was already taking shape. She pulled her manager aside, her voice low but urgent. "I need your help with something. It's about the janitor, Mike. I want to do something special for him and his daughter." Her manager raised an eyebrow but nodded. "What do you have in mind?" Taylor's eyes sparkled with determination. "Leave that to me. Just make sure they're here on concert night, and I'll take care of the rest." Meanwhile, Mike finished his shift, still replaying the surreal encounter in his mind. He had no idea that Taylor Swift, inspired by his story and his voice, was already setting the wheels in motion for something extraordinary. The following morning, Taylor Swift woke up with a renewed sense of purpose. The memory of her conversation with Mike lingered in her mind, his heartfelt words resonating deeply. She knew she had to act, but she wanted her gesture to feel meaningful, not just a fleeting moment of generosity, but something that would truly make a difference in Mike and Ella's lives. As her team gathered in the conference room of the nearby hotel, Taylor shared her idea. "I met someone last night," she began, her tone earnest. "His name is Mike. He's a janitor at the arena, and he's got this incredible story. I want to do something special for him and his daughter." Her manager leaned forward, intrigued. "What are you thinking?" Taylor's eyes lit up with determination. "First, I want to make sure Ella gets to experience the concert. Front row seats, VIP treatment, the works. But I also want to help Mike beyond just one night. He's been through so much, and I think we can do more." The room buzzed with ideas as Taylor's team brainstormed. By the end of the meeting, a detailed plan was in place. Ella would receive a personal invitation to the concert, complete with backstage access to meet Taylor. For Mike, they decided to collaborate with a local scholarship foundation to ensure Ella's education would be supported. Taylor also wanted to gift him something personal, a guitar, symbolic of the passion he had set aside for his family. The next few days were a whirlwind of preparation. Taylor worked closely with her team, ensuring every detail was perfect. Meanwhile, Mike continued his shifts at the arena, completely unaware of the plans unfolding around him. He thought often about his brief encounter with Taylor, replaying her kind words in his mind, but he never imagined the impact it would have. On the morning of the concert, a courier arrived at Mike's modest apartment with an envelope. Inside was a handwritten note from Taylor, and 2 glittering tickets marked VIP in bold letters. The note read, "Dear Mike and Ella, thank you for sharing your story with me. Your love and resilience are truly inspiring. I hope these tickets bring you both as much joy as your song brought to me. Looking forward to seeing you tonight. With love, Taylor." Mike stared at the tickets in disbelief, his hands trembling. "Ella!" he called out, his voice cracking with emotion. Ella appeared curious, and gasped when she saw the tickets. "Dad! Is this real? Are we really going?" Mike nodded, his throat too tight to speak. Tears welled in his eyes as he pulled her into a hug. "Yes, sweetheart. We're going." That evening, they arrived at the arena dressed in their best. Ella's excitement was palpable as she held onto her dad's hand, her eyes wide with wonder. The staff greeted them warmly and escorted them to their seats, front and center, with a perfect view of the stage. As the lights dimmed and the music swelled, Ella's joy was infectious. Mike couldn't help but smile as he watched her sing along, her face glowing with happiness. For the first time in years, he felt a weight lift from his shoulders. In this moment, nothing else mattered. After the show, they were guided backstage. Ella was practically bouncing with excitement, and Mike's nerves returned as they approached the dressing room. When the door opened, Taylor greeted them with a warm smile. "Ella! I've been waiting to meet you," she said, kneeling to give the girl a hug. Ella beamed, unable to contain her excitement. Mike stepped forward, still awestruck. "Taylor, I don't even know what to say. Thank you doesn't feel like enough." Taylor shook her head. "You don't need to thank me. You and Ella given me something I can't put into words. This is just a small way to give back." She handed Mike a sleek black case. "This is for you," she said softly. He opened it to find a beautiful acoustic guitar inside, its polished wood gleaming under the lights. Mike's breath hitched as he ran his fingers over the strings. "I don't know what to say," he whispered. "Just promise me you'll play again," Taylor replied with a smile. "For yourself, and for Ella." As they left the arena that night, Ella clutching an autographed photo and Mike carrying the guitar, they felt a profound sense of gratitude. But the surprises weren't over yet. In Mike's pocket was another envelope Taylor had handed him as they said goodbye. Inside was a letter and details of the Scholarship Foundation's support for Ella's education. For Mike, it wasn't just a concert. It was a turning point, a reminder that even in the toughest times, unexpected kindness could change everything. The night of the concert was nothing short of magical. The arena was transformed into a sea of lights, with thousands of fans eagerly awaiting Taylor Swift's performance. For Mike and Ella, the energy in the air was electrifying. Seated in the front row, Ella's eyes sparkled as she looked around, soaking in every moment. Mike, still in disbelief, kept glancing at his daughter, her happiness filling his heart with a joy he hadn't felt in years. As the opening notes of Taylor's set began to play, the crowd erupted in cheers. Taylor appeared on stage, radiant and commanding, her voice effortlessly captivating the audience. Ella sang along to every word, her small hands clutching her dad's arm as she leaned forward in excitement. For Mike, it wasn't just a concert. It was a glimpse of a world he had never imagined being a part of, one that seemed as much Ella's dream as it was now his reality. Halfway through the concert, Taylor paused to address the audience. The arena quieted, the anticipation palpable. "I want to share a little story with you all tonight," she began, her voice warm and inviting. "A few days ago, I met someone who reminded me why I do what I do. He's not a performer, but his voice and his story touched my heart in a way I'll never forget." Mike stiffened in his seat, his stomach tightening as he realized she was talking about him. Ella turned to him, her face a mix of surprise and curiosity. Taylor continued, "He's here tonight with his incredible daughter, Ella. Mike, would you and Ella stand up for me?" The spotlight swept over the crowd, landing on Mike and Ella. The audience erupted into applause, and Mike felt his face flush as he stood, Ella's hand tightly gripping his. Taylor's eyes met his, and she smiled warmly. "Mike, your story reminded me of the power of music and the strength of family. This next song is for you and Ella," she said before launching into an acoustic rendition of one of her most heartfelt tracks. As the music swirled around them, Mike's emotions surged. Ella leaned against him, her eyes brimming with tears of joy. For a few minutes, it felt as though the entire world had stopped, the moment suspended in time. After the song, Taylor addressed the crowd again. "Mike, you've done so much for Ella, and tonight we want to do something for you. Ella, come on up here." Ella's jaw dropped, and she turned to her dad, who nodded with a smile. She climbed onto the stage, her small frame dwarfed by the massive setup, but her presence was magnetic. Taylor knelt beside her, handing her a microphone. "Do you want to sing with me?" Taylor asked. Ella nodded, her voice barely above a whisper. Together, they performed a duet, the audience clapping and swaying along. Ella's confidence grew with every note, her voice soaring alongside Taylor's. For Mike, it was a surreal and proud moment, his daughter living her dream in front of thousands. After the performance, Taylor hugged Ella and handed her back to Mike, but the surprises weren't over. "Mike," Taylor said, turning her attention back to him, "there's something else. I heard about the sacrifices you've made for Ella, and I wanted to give something back. You'll find more details after the show, but I've arranged a scholarship for Ella to pursue her education and her dreams." The crowd erupted in applause, and Mike felt tears streaming down his face. He mouthed a thank you to Taylor, overwhelmed by her kindness. As the concert ended, Mike and Ella were escorted backstage once more. This time, the atmosphere was celebratory, with staff and crew congratulating them. Taylor met them again, her expression filled with genuine warmth. "Mike, your story reminds us all of what's important. You and Ella deserve every bit of this," she said. Mike shook her hand, his voice thick with emotion. "I'll never be able to thank you enough, Taylor. This means the world to us." Taylor placed a hand on his shoulder. "Just keep being the incredible dad you already are. That's all the thanks I need." As Mike and Ella left the arena that night, their lives had been forever changed. The weight of their struggles felt lighter, replaced by hope and the knowledge that kindness and generosity could create ripples far beyond a single moment. For Taylor, it wasn't just another concert. It was a reminder of why she started making music in the first place: to connect, to inspire, and to make a difference. The following days were a whirlwind for Mike and Ella. News of their unforgettable night at the concert spread quickly, with stories of Taylor Swift's kindness making headlines. Yet, despite the attention, Mike remained grounded, focusing on what mattered most: Ella's happiness and future. At home, Ella couldn't stop talking about her moment on stage. "Dad, did you see how many people were watching?" she asked, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "And Taylor, she said I was good." Mike smiled, ruffling her hair. "You were more than good, kiddo. You were amazing." In the midst of their excitement, Mike opened the envelope Taylor had handed him after the concert. Inside was a detailed letter outlining the scholarship that would cover Ella's education expenses through college. There was also a personal note from Taylor. "Mike, thank you for sharing your story and your voice. You've reminded me of the power of music and the strength of family. I hope this scholarship helps Ella reach for the stars, and I hope you never stop singing. You've inspired me more than you know. With love, Taylor." Mike read the letter aloud to Ella, who threw her arms around him, tears streaming down her face. "Dad, I can't believe this is real. I'm going to college." He held her tightly, his own emotions threatening to overwhelm him. "You're going to do amazing things, Ella. I know it." As the days turned into weeks, Mike found himself reflecting on everything that had happened. Returning to work at the arena felt different now. His coworkers treated him with newfound respect, often asking him to share the story of his encounter with Taylor. He told it humbly, emphasizing not the fame or the attention but the kindness that had touched his and Ella's lives. One evening, as he strummed the guitar Taylor had given him, Mike found himself singing again. The notes came more freely now, the words flowing with a confidence he hadn't felt in years. Ella sat nearby, humming along and occasionally joining in. Music became a bond between them, a way to express the dreams and emotions they had once kept hidden. Ella, inspired by her experience, began to pursue music more seriously. She joined her school's choir and started writing her own songs, often seeking her dad's advice. "What do you think of this line, Dad?" she'd ask, holding up her notebook. Mike would smile, offering gentle feedback. "It's beautiful, Ella. Keep going." Their lives weren't suddenly perfect, but there was a newfound sense of hope and possibility. The struggles they faced didn't feel as insurmountable anymore. Mike often thought about Taylor's words and how one act of kindness had created a ripple effect that changed their lives. Months later, Mike received an unexpected letter in the mail. It was from a local community center, inviting him to perform at a charity event. The organizer had heard about his story and wanted him to share his music with others. At first, Mike hesitated, unsure if he was ready for such a step. But Ella's encouragement pushed him forward. "You can do this, Dad," she said with a smile. "You always tell me to follow my dreams. Now it's your turn." On the night of the event, Mike stepped onto the small stage, his guitar in hand. The room was filled with familiar faces, coworkers, neighbors, even a few strangers who had come to hear his story. As he began to play, his nerves melted away, replaced by a sense of peace. The music flowed effortlessly, each note carrying the emotions he had long kept inside. When he finished, the applause was thunderous. Ella was in the front row, clapping the hardest, her smile beaming with pride. For Mike, it wasn't about the performance or the recognition. It was about sharing his heart and inspiring others, just as Taylor had inspired him. As they walked home that night, Ella turned to him. "You were amazing, Dad." "Just like Taylor said?" Mike chuckled, draping an arm around her shoulders. "I think she was talking about both of us, kiddo." Their journey was far from over, but they faced the future with courage and optimism. The echoes of that unforgettable night at the concert continued to shape their lives, a testament to the power of music, kindness, and connection. And through it all, one thing remained certain: sometimes, the smallest acts of kindness could change the world in the most extraordinary ways. Months had passed since the unforgettable night at the concert, and life had begun to settle into a new rhythm for Mike and Ella. Music became a central part of their days, and the scholarship ensured that Ella's dreams of pursuing her education and music were no longer distant aspirations. However, the story was far from over. One afternoon, as Mike was finishing a shift at the arena, a young man approached him. Dressed in a sharp suit, He carried an air of confidence that seemed out of place among the janitorial staff. "Mike, right?" the man asked, extending his hand. Mike hesitated but shook it. "Yeah, that's me." "Can I help you?" The man smiled. "My name is Ben, and I work with an organization that partners with artists to highlight unsung heroes. Taylor Swift told us about you, and I've been wanting to reach out." Mike blinked, taken aback. "Taylor mentioned me?" "She did," Ben said, nodding. "She spoke about your story, your voice, and the incredible bond you share with your daughter. We think your journey deserves to be shared on a bigger platform. Have you ever considered performing publicly?" Mike laughed nervously. "I've done one charity event. That's about it." Ben's smile widened. "How about performing on a larger stage? We're organizing a benefit concert, and we'd love for you to be a part of it. It's a chance to share your music and your story with thousands of people." Mike's first instinct was to decline. The idea of stepping onto a big stage felt overwhelming. But before he could respond, Ben added, "Ella would be welcome to join you. It could be a father-daughter moment." That stopped Mike in his tracks. He thought about Ella's growing confidence, her dreams of following in Taylor's footsteps. "Let me talk to my daughter," he said finally. "I'll get back to you." That evening, over dinner, Mike shared the conversation with Ella. Her eyes lit up with excitement. "Dad, we have to do it. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity." Mike hesitated. "It's a big deal, Ella. Are you sure we're ready for something like this?" Ella reached across the table, placing her hand over his. "We're ready, Dad. We've come this far. Let's keep going." Her confidence was infectious, and by the end of the meal, Mike had made up his mind. "All right," he said with a smile. "Let's do it." The weeks leading up to the benefit concert were a blur of rehearsals and planning. Mike and Ella worked tirelessly, crafting a setlist that combined covers of their favorite songs with an original piece they'd written together. The process brought them even closer, their bond deepening with each shared note. When the night of the concert arrived, the venue was packed. Backstage, Mike paced nervously while Ella adjusted her outfit in the mirror. "Dad, stop worrying," she teased. "We've got this." Mike chuckled, ruffling her hair. "I don't know how you're so calm." Ella grinned. "Because I'm with you. We make a great team." Their turn came, and as they stepped onto the stage, the crowd erupted into applause. Mike felt a wave of emotion wash over him as he looked out at the sea of faces. But when he glanced at Ella, standing confidently beside him, his nerves faded. They began their set, their voices blending harmoniously. The audience was captivated, their story adding an emotional depth to every song. By the time they reached their original piece, the room was silent, every ear tuned to their heartfelt lyrics. When they finished, the applause was deafening. After the concert, Ben approached them, beaming. "You two were incredible. The audience loved you." Ella turned to her dad, her face glowing with pride. "See, Dad? I told you we could do it." As they left the venue, a thought struck Mike. This journey, from a chance meeting with Taylor Swift to standing on a stage alongside his daughter, felt like more than luck. It was a testament to the power of kindness, perseverance, and the unshakable bond between a parent and child. For Mike and Ella, the unexpected twist wasn't just about performing for thousands. It was about realizing their potential and discovering that sometimes, life's most extraordinary moments begin with a single, unexpected encounter. The future felt wide open, and they were ready to embrace it together.